Oh yes! Whoa! Yes, yes. Fish thing. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode. And in this episode, I am going to talk about my favorite lure for catching Trevally or GT off the beach. You know, I used to be one of those guys. I used to turn up to go beach fishing with a couple of boxes full of lures. You know, stick baits, poppers, subsurfers, you name it. But I've since downgraded my tackle box to what you just see here. So typically when I go down to the beach and I'm targeting Trevally, I will be using primarily these lures. And today we are going to be talking about the Acme Kastmaster. So let's go through what I like about these lures, and then let's go through what I don't like about these lures. And then finally, we are going to look at how to upgrade this spoon so that you can catch more fish and bigger fish. The first thing I really love about the Kastmaster is its castability. This lure has amazing balance. Even in heavy winds, I find that casting the spoon is absolutely no problem. You know, when you cast this lure, uh, most often it flies with the heavy side forward, right? But every now and then, you know, when you cast, the lure will start to tumble. But if you keep an eye on the lure, you will see that in mid-air you will find this thing. It'll tumble, but it'll find this weighted section forward, and it'll correct itself. I really like that because you can see in the beginning of the cast this thing tumbling, then all of a sudden it does something like that and it just straightens out and just keeps going. Now, the second thing that I really like about the Kastmaster is that the Kastmaster has a brass core and a heavy plating, silver plating on top, right? The silver plating is very durable. I've left these lures unwashed for months sometimes, and you will not find any pitting or corrosion forming on the body of the lure, right? And even if the coating gets scratched, because it has a brass core, you'll find that there is no rust, right? If you take some of the cheaper spoons in the market, they look all nice and pretty when you start using them, but after a month or two, you know, when it starts getting banged up on rocks and getting scratches and stuff, you will always find that, you know, the cheaper spoons have a steel core, and it will start rusting through this plating, and very soon the spoon becomes unusable. Now, the third thing I really like about the Kastmaster, and I feel like it sets the Kastmaster apart from the other spoons, is the action. Guys, this lure does not need a very fast retrieval rate to stay buoyant. Again, I don't know why that is on the Kastmaster. I have a feeling it's because of the profile that it has. Basically, you can work this lure very slow and not worry about it getting too close to the bottom. You know, as long as it's even slowly moving, it stays up above. So it's very easy to control the depth that you want to fish with the Kastmaster as opposed to other spoons, because usually with other spoons what I find is that when I start reeling really slow, the lure bottoms out. It does not have enough buoyancy. And in the area that I fish for Trevally, I find that you know, the Trevally like a slightly slower moving lure but with a very pronounced action, and that's exactly what you get with the Kastmaster. See, when you work this lure very slow, I mean, you work it fast, it's going to have a tight wiggle. But how I like to work it is kind of slow. If you look at all my videos, you will see my rod tip up, and you will see me reeling fairly slow. And the reason for that is because I like to hit the middle of the water column, and when you reel it really slow, it has a very pronounced wiggle, you know, side to side wiggle, which I feel that the Trevallies here that hang around the shore really like. You know, it's different if the Trevally are schooling and, you know, if they're in like packs of 10 or 15 fish, it doesn't really matter. You know, every fish is just going to go try to go for this lure because there's competition around. But when we rarely ever get schooling GTs, we coming that close to the show. So when you are targeting those lone GTs, I find that slower wiggling side to side movement produces more hits. So another great advantage, guys, of the Kastmaster, unlike other spoons, and I'm not comparing it to all the spoons in the market, but most spoons, is the fact that the Kastmaster does not give you line twist. In a lot of other metals or a lot of other spoons, I find that if you get the retrieval rate wrong, most often if you're reeling too fast, when the spoon comes through the water, it's doing this, it's spinning, right? It's not doing this wiggle, and swimming towards you. It's actually twisting in the water. And what this does is it causes line twist. And you have line twist when you're fishing braid, because when you cast and the line goes through your guides, it sounds almost like there's a small wing knot. It's a strange sound. And the moment that you start hearing that sound on every cast, that you have a little bit of line twist. So getting line twist on braid, on monoline is not a problem. It's very easy to undo, right? But it's almost impossible to undo line twist on braided line. And that's really not something you want on braided line, because one, it's going to affect your ability to cast distance. And the other thing is it could affect the strength of the braid. So one of the great things about the Kastmaster is that it does not matter how fast or how slow you reel this thing in, this thing will keep coming towards you doing that wiggle. The faster you reel it, the faster the wiggle is going to be. The slower you reel, the slower the wiggle is going to be. But it's not going to be doing this twisting, and giving you problems with your line. So that's awesome. I really like that about the Kastmaster. And now we get to the final feature about this spoon that I really like. And that's the fact that this spoon can be fished with a retrieve, or it can be jigged also. Now, if you guys watch my videos, you will see that I love show jigging. I love using metals, and usually if you're using a show jig, that's what you need to do. You need to jig it. And if you're using a spoon, then the fishing style is different. It's basically a straight retrieve. But the fact that with the Kastmaster I can do both, that gives me great flexibility. See, usually with spoons you stop reeling, this thing's just going to go right down to the bottom, right? But with the Kastmaster, the moment you stop reeling, it is going to go to the bottom, but it's going to do this very pronounced flutter on the way down, right? And what that does is, usually when the fish see that flutter, it does produce bites. So I like to give these Kastmasters a steady retrieve, and every now and then I like to give it a few jigs so that it moves up and down the water column a little bit, and I allow it to fall and flutter on the way down and then reel again. And I find that when the bite is slow, that technique where you throw in a few jigs with your retrieve really works and helps produce strikes. Okay, now that we've gone through the pros, let's go through the cons. As great as this lure is, it does have some drawbacks, right? The first drawback of the Kastmaster is the price. It is not cheap, guys. These Kastmasters, range anywhere from $11 to $13, depending on the size and how you buy them. You can buy them without any hardware, meaning you will get just a spoon, no split rings, no hooks, nothing. Or you can buy them pre-rigged like this. You could buy them with just plain treble, or you can buy them with the dressed, bucktail. That's expensive, guys. You can buy, cheaper spoons for far less than what they charge for the Kastmaster. And the fact that you pay this much and you get this garbage hardware is just, that's just a double down. And losing one of these lures, you really feel it. I was out fishing yesterday and I lost a spoon, and it's expensive to replace. But yeah, just to get back to the hardware that comes with the Kastmaster, Guys, they are garbage. These split rings are garbage. These rings are garbage. These bucktails are terrible. You can see even with me now this is a brand new lure, guys, and even with me handling this lure just for this little bit for this video, you can see the hairs are already coming off. So the main issue that these split rings and these hooks have is the fact that they rust really, really fast. I mean, you go fishing, you don't wash these lures just for even a few hours, and you open your tackle box, you will find that rust is forming on the split rings and on the hook. And another issue, well, it's not so much of an issue with this spoon because this is a 1.5 ounce, but with the smaller 1 ounce spoons, you will find that the single hook that comes with the spoon has a very small eye, and it does not move freely on the split ring, meaning especially when it gets rusted, when there's a little bit of surface rust that forms on the split ring and on the inside edge of the hook eye, you'll find that this thing gets a bit stuck. Again, on the 1.5 ounce lure, it's not a problem. The hook they have used has a larger eye, but on the 1 ounce, it's definitely a problem. And once it gets all rusted up like that, you'll find that this whole joint here just does not move as freely. So the first thing I like to do is when I get these Kastmasters, I used to buy them all rigged up, with the hooks and everything, but I would advise you guys to buy just the spoons. If you guys are interested in trying out the Kastmasters, just buy the plain spoons and change out the gear to something a little bit more durable. So the next thing I would like to take you guys through is to show you how I modified this spoon so that I can use better hardware, right? Let's put that away. So when you buy the Kastmaster, you will find, for example, let's talk about the 1 ounce spoon. You will find these holes to be very tiny on either end, right? And because they are so tiny, the gap between the edge of the spoon and the inner edge of the hole is too wide. And this causes a problem because if you try to upgrade the split rings to most commercially available split rings, you will find that it is almost impossible to get the split ring into that hole, right? You can get it in there, but you will end up, damaging. I don't have one here that is already damaged, but it's a slight damage. See these scratch marks all around this edge, right? That's from me trying to get a regular split ring in to the standard size hole, right? And what happens is that even after you get the split ring into that hole, when you get it on, the fact that the split ring has to separate so much just to be able to fit in there, most split rings, they don't return back to their original shape. You will always find them slightly deformed or slightly stretched or something like that. And guys, this doesn't matter, whether you use cheap split rings or owners. I've tried all of them. They are terrible to get on. So what I like to do first is I like to take everything off, the bare spoon, and I like to enlarge these holes, right? These come, the 1 ounce lures come with 2 millimeter holes on either side. So what I do is I enlarge it to 3 millimeter, and you won't believe it, guys. Just that 1 millimeter, enlarging that 1 millimeter makes it so easy to put on a split ring. Now, given that even with the enlarged hole and it being easier to put in a split ring, most of the split rings that are available will be very beefy. They'll be very thick. This size, whatever size that is going to fit in here, is going to be very, very heavy and very big. So after much searching, I managed to find a set of stainless steel split rings, right? This, and I'll put the link in the description, guys, to all this stuff. I found these particular split rings and lure parts online, right? And these are stainless steel 100-pound split rings, and they have a slightly as you can see, slightly thinner profile, right? They're slightly thinner gauge, and they are extremely flexible. You know, it's very easy to stretch the split ring out and get it in this hole. And this split ring, as you can see, there's no deformation. You know, it comes back to its original shape without any problem. And these are the only split rings I've found that can do that. I've tried many others, right? From the top brands to cheap ones. They're all difficult to get on, but this particular type of split ring, stainless steel type of split ring, works really well. So what I like to do is I like to put 200-pound split rings on either side, and then I like to upgrade the standard treble hook. This is a factory treble hook that came with this lure. I like to take that off, and I like to upgrade to single hooks. And the reason for that is that, one, I can use a stronger hook. Two, I usually find that when I do hook up, the hookup is solid with the single hook. And the third reason, this may not apply to you guys, but our beaches are full of crap. It's full of floating debris, plastics, and all that stuff. And the moment you have a treble hook on there, you will find yourself snagging on all kinds of garbage in the water. And I find that the snag rate with the single hook is far less. You will snag a lot less things. So this is how I like to modify them. And as you can see, in the spoon, the hook has to sit on the thick edge on the Kastmaster, and the single hook needs to sit sideways like this. Not like this, not like this, but sideways. So what I have done is, in this particular spoon, is I've used these hooks, and they have a ring on there. See? Now, if this ring was not there, right, you would have to use another smaller split ring at the end of the bigger split ring to allow the hook to sit in this position, because of the position of the eye here, right? So to avoid using an additional split ring there, I've gone with a solid ring, which I feel is stronger. But if you're only able to find, say for example, these Lone Diablos, they don't have a solid ring, so you could still use these, but you just need to use a smaller split ring right here, so that allows the hook to sit sideways. And I feel like the added ring or split ring that you put here, it also allows for a little bit of movement, which I feel improves the hookup rate. Spoons, they work best because of the flash, right? When there's sunlight reflecting off the spoon, and that's what attracts the fish. So you want to keep your spoons shiny. So my next tip would be, when you are doing all this, when you get a chance, try to polish up your old spoons. Of course, the new ones don't need polish, they're nice and shiny. But if you've been using them for a while, you'll find that, it gets a little dull, the surface, and you could take a moment, to polish up the surface of the spoon, and that really helps give it a bit more reflective power. So guys, the other thing that I really like to do to modify these spoons is to add a little bit of flash. That is just my preference, but I do feel like adding a little bit of flash, adding a bucktail like this to the end of your lure really does help attract those show GTs. And when this lure is swimming in the water, you can really see that bucktail do that side to side thing, and I feel like this helps. Of course, I have no way to prove this. This is just personal preference. If I'm using a spoon, more than likely I will put on a bucktail as well. I feel it helps. So you guys can try it out. Let me know in the comments what you feel. If it worked for you, if it didn't, just let me know. Okay, so we've pretty much spoken about the pros of these lures, the cons, and several ways to improve this lure, to improve your catch rate. So let's hit the shore now and see if we can land a Trevally. Oh yes! Whoa! Yes, yes.
Fish stick. Oh, he's decent, guys. Keep pressure on him. Oh, he's in some structure. What is he in? Yeah. Yeah. Wish, put your rod down on that thing. Get him away from this wall because I can feel him rubbing on all kinds of structure. Okay. Huh? Okay. Swimming in. Fish. It's close. Yeah, it's a Trevally. Oh, that's a nice one. Oh, look, he's rubbed all my leader. I'm gonna have to change it, I think. Alright. Today we're keeping fish. We need fish for the cooler, so this one's going home with us. Oh, look.